Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So, the presidential race is thinning on the Republican side, thinning massively, and that is because Christie, this was a couple of days ago, he dropped out of the 2024 presidential race. And it is true that he did not endorse anybody. He did not throw his support behind somebody. He didn't tell his supporters to vote for anybody in particular. However, this is kind of evident that he's doing it to help one person and one person only. It's another last-ditch delusional effort, and it's a delusional effort to stop Donald Trump. You saw that with the DeSantis side for months and months. They were doing everything they could. They were throwing everything at the wall to see if it could stick. It only caused them to lose more and more support, so much so to the point where the guy's likely going to finish in third in Iowa. In New Hampshire, he was going to potentially be on track to finish in fifth place until Christie dropped out. And it's like, we'll see what happens after Iowa, if DeSantis doesn't drop out or not. And that's going to be in about 3 days where Iowa will caucus. But I want to move a little bit forward to New Hampshire because this very well could be the most contested state. And while Donald Trump still likely wins it, and if for some reason he doesn't win it, he likely is going to win every other single state in the country. But Christie was polling in New Hampshire at probably around 11%. And a lot of his voters were just anti-Trump voters. Many of them are independents that are probably going to be voting for Joe Biden come November, and we're going to be voting for Joe Biden no matter what. And Nikki Haley is surging because DeSantis is collapsing. A lot of mega donors are throwing their money behind Nikki Haley. And even though she's not really getting close to Trump in a lot of these polls, she's getting a little bit closer than all of these other candidates were in all of the other states. And she's closest to him in New Hampshire, even more so than her own home state, where Donald Trump is shellacking her by 30 points or so. But this is what they're trying to do. They are trying to get Christie to drop out just so his support consolidates behind Nikki Haley, because everybody knows that those voters, if they're voting in this primary, they're voting for Haley. These are people that are on the Democrat side who want to stop Trump, and they know deep down there's a good chance they can't beat him with Joe Biden, so they're trying to beat him by Nikki Haley. And that's why a lot of Democrat donors are lining up behind Nikki Haley. I think part of it is because if she does get the nomination, they view her to be easier to beat. But also, that's their insurance policy, having a uniparty type of president. But it's probably not going to happen regardless. But still, it's not going to stop Christie, who said that he would stick in until the convention, partially because he's delusional. But the guy's got low impulse control. I mean, look at his diet, first and foremost. But he dropped out. He dropped out of the presidential race and caused a 9.2 magnitude earthquake in the state of New Hampshire. And that's the way it is. And he was caught on a hot mic where he was going out saying that he's afraid that Haley's going to get crushed. And he knows that she's not a strong candidate. And him dropping out would consolidate potentially more support in the state of New Hampshire behind Haley. And even if Haley goes out there and narrowly wins New Hampshire, it's probably not going to make a difference. I don't believe she will. And it's a very good possibility as well that Ron DeSantis or Vivek Ramaswamy, one of those two, drops out before New Hampshire as well. A lot of those voters are going to be going to Donald Trump. And even then, just allocating undecideds, allocating voters through the energy factor or whatever, depending on the turnout level between Republican voters, right-leaning independents compared to left-leaning independents in the Republican primary, there's a much greater chance than not that Trump still comes out on top. And for some reason, if he doesn't, you have to look at what state's next. Nevada, where Donald Trump is shellacking everybody, just like 70-10. I don't even know what Haley was at in these polls, but Donald Trump was shellacking the opposition. He's got nearly 3/4 of the Republican field behind him in Nevada. Do you think a narrow Haley win, driven by mainly Democrat voters in a general election, do you believe that that's going to really stifle Trump's momentum? Of course not. South Carolina, Donald Trump leads by 30 points over Nikki Haley in her home state. And even then, if you want to say, well, she could get momentum, let's say she gains a few points because of it, it's not going to matter. Trump's going to clear the field in every single state after New Hampshire. He's going to clear everybody else in Iowa by a significant margin. So much so to the point where this is just a waste. The Republicans need to get behind Donald Trump. He was always going to be the nominee. He is basically the nominee. Votes have not been tabulated yet, but in Iowa, when they get tabulated, he's going to win. Even if for some reason the collusion works in New Hampshire, it's not going to work in South Carolina. The math isn't there. Definitely not going to work in Nevada. They want to shift the narrative to weaken Trump. That's only going to hurt him in a general election, but it's not really going to, because there's really no way that they can do it, which is what makes this whole thing just one massive delusion. All this money, all this energy, $200+ million on these early states spent between Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, Chris Christie, you name it. And the bottom line is it's not moving the needle at all. If anything, exposing the public to these clowns has made Donald Trump increase his margins compared to what it would be if they just did the Biden basement strategy. And as a result, Trump is in a better position than ever to win this nomination, regardless of whatever nonsense they decide to pull, regardless of how much they try to spin the narrative negatively. And it's also why people need to get out and vote. I'm not worried about Iowa. I'm not even worried about New Hampshire. I firmly believe that Donald Trump is going to win both states, and he's going to win the states that take place after these two by even wider margins. This nomination is basically his. Everybody else is just wasting time and money that could go to defeating Joe Biden instead. But nevertheless, it's like, I want Trump to come out and make a statement in Iowa. I need him to win by more than 30. I need him to win by, at least 15 to 20 in New Hampshire. And that's with a lot of party ID Democrat voters who might be registered independents voting in that primary. That's basically what it comes down to. And Donald Trump needs to come out on top by a massive margin. So I don't care that it's going to be cold in Iowa. It could be freezing in New Hampshire. People need to get out and vote. People need to get out and caucus in these early states regardless, because the strength is in numbers, and we need to show them that we can come out with the biggest victory possible. It's not because I'm afraid that Trump's going to fall short in Iowa or New Hampshire. I'm just saying, don't cede any ground to these people regarding the narrative. It's true. Chris Christie's a disaster. He's always been a disaster. And him dropping out, yeah, it probably does help Nikki Haley. But is she going to have enough to really go out there against Donald Trump and have the votes to win in New Hampshire? It may not be all that likely. And on top of that, Trump getting any victory in Iowa that's not like a nail biter is going to give him a lot of momentum going into New Hampshire. If he goes out there and clears the field in Iowa by 30, and it's possible his margins could be inflated because of the weather, because the Trump supporters are usually the most enthusiastic supporters that will crawl over broken glass and ice, metaphorically speaking. Well, actually, in this case, they'll have to run through the freezing cold to go out and vote for him in Iowa. It's like, it's possible that that could help him. That could build momentum. But if he wins by anything like close to 20 or more in Iowa, he's going to have momentum going into New Hampshire. He could pick up more voters because of it, because everybody's just going to say, this primary's pretty much over. Let's just get behind Donald Trump. It's possible you see DeSantis dropping out. I don't know if he's even going to endorse Trump, but a lot of his in real life supporters will pick Trump over Haley. And Vivek Ramaswamy, if he decides to drop out his, 4 or 5%, that's like all going to go behind Donald Trump. And it's going to help him win big. And when you have that factored in, Trump's going to be fine in New Hampshire. He is. But it's funny that they're trying to spend all of their energy on New Hampshire. That's why they got Chris Sununu out there going and endorsing and campaigning for Nikki Haley, the other fat Chris. And it's also why Chris Christie was likely pressured into a corner where they're saying, hey, if you really hate Trump so much and you want to stop him, you got to drop out. And he decided to do it. Even if he's not going to endorse Haley, he knows deep down that a lot of his supporters will probably end up voting for Nikki Haley. But still, New Hampshire's 22 delegates. This is not some massive prize. Trump and Haley, like worst case, even if he loses New Hampshire by like 5, she nets like 1 delegate out of the whole ordeal. Like that's the thing. And you go down to South Carolina, which is going to be like winner take all, he's going to win all 50. He's going to win close to all of Nevada's 25. He's going to win like a super majority of Michigan's 73, to the point where, yeah, even if you have New Hampshire, that's your consolation prize. You want to run with it, it's laughable. You're not going to win the nomination. This is collusion effort between the Republican establishment, Republican donors, Democrat donors, to get out these left-leaning independent voters to vote for Nikki Haley, but it's not going to make a difference. First of all, Trump's still going to win New Hampshire. Second of all, he's still going to win the entire nomination by a resounding margin. But regardless, wherever you are, when your state votes, you got to get out and vote, because we need every vote we can get to absolutely embarrass these clowns. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle out.